Hey everybody, this is Darren Van Dam, and you are watching Flick Connection, the show that helps you get more out of movies, and today it's time for the Flicks of the Week. On today's Flicks of the Week, episode 26, I take a look at True Detective Season 3, Superman Goes Gray, Captain Kirk shows off his Enterprise, and I turn 34. That's right, I turned 34 today, the day that this video launches, so happy birthday to me. Thank you for all the congratulations in the comments in advance. And today is sort of special in that it is a new format for Flicks of the Week, almost. So as some of you know and have complained, and it's fine, no Flicks of the Week last week. This is sort of me starting a new format. I would have loved to have just launched a brand new format, but I've got a lot of things going on and did not want to skip another week. So this is a little sampling of where this show is going to be headed. Let me know what you like and what you don't like in the comments. There's going to be a lot of new content on Flicks of the Week going forward. And if you notice, I'm in kind of a weird spot. Part of what I'm going to be covering is news, and just in some channel news, the reason I'm sitting here and not back there where I normally am is all my stuff's in disarray. Filmed a podcast last night, and I am about to pack all this up, and I'm going to drive to see one of my first trips to go see a celebrity guest for the podcast. Be sure to go to that channel or go to Spotify, iTunes, wherever you listen to podcasts. Subscribe to the Flick Connection podcast. I am super excited to bring you next week's guest. Before we get into some movie news I want to share with you, I'll give you a couple of my picks of the week. One is on HBO, and it is called Hard Candy. Now, this movie's creeping up on 10 years old. It might be about 10 years old, but it is about a guy who picks up a teenage girl on the internet and brings him back to her house for naughty things he should not be doing. He's a real scumbag, but what he does not know is that this girl isn't as young as she appears to be. She's played by Ellen Page, and she knows who he is, and she has some worse things in store for him. This is a very dark movie. It's very intense, but it's so good. It's so well directed, really well acted. If you've never seen Hard Candy, you can currently check it out on HBO. Also on Showtime, one I really wish I had recommended during the month of October, and I didn't realize it was actually on Showtime. The Autopsy of Jane Doe is one of the better horror movies to have come out in recent years, and it's a sleeper. It's got its following. Anybody I've ever talked to that has seen it loves it. If you have not seen it and you have access to Showtime, it's a really cool movie about a small, sort of like mom and pop morgue that is doing an autopsy of a woman on a Jane Doe on a creepy night. There's weird circumstances. It is a good little horror movie. If it's your jam and you never saw this one, it is cream of the crop. And don't worry, it's a new format. I am getting to Netflix, Amazon. I've got some primo picks for Amazon this week. But for rentals, I recommend checking out a little movie called Killer Kate. It's a small movie. It just got released on video on demand, meaning you can rent it. It's like a $5 or $6 rental, but it's a cool flick about a couple of girls that go on a bachelorette party, like at a bed and breakfast. It's nothing special, but they are going to be hunted. You know, the movie opens up with a group of people planning to kill these girls, and the cool thing about it is it's not a horror comedy. It definitely is not that, but it's got a fun kind of pulpy, comedic vibe to it. Check it out. It's worth a few bucks to rent if you're into this sort of a movie. It's really bloody, it's really gruesome, but again, it's real low budget, but I had a lot of fun watching it. As far as some new trailers we got this week, True Detective Season 3 is coming out. Now, I know I don't talk about series a lot on this show, but I loved True Detective Season 1 is my favorite season of any show ever on TV. I think it's got some of the best moments. I think it easily has one of the best sequences ever shot for TV. And I was excited for Season 2, and I was actually not as let down as a lot of people were. I know a lot of people really hated Season 2. It's just not nearly as good as Season 1, but I thought it was still good television. I liked a lot of things about it. I've got apprehensions with Season 3. Stephen Dorff seems to have a pretty heavy role in it, and nothing against him. Outside of Blade, I don't know that I've ever really liked him in anything. So it's interesting. The casting's interesting on it. It looks like it really spans a long period of time. So I'm definitely interested to seeing this one, but after Season 2, my expectations are going to be tempered for it. This comes out in mid-January. Texas Cotton is a really cool little movie that I've happened to have seen already, but the trailer has just come out. It's going to be available to rent, and it's going to be in select theaters next week. I'll be talking more about it then, along with a review closer to when you can actually watch it, but you can check out the trailer. By the way, trailers to all this stuff, it's in the description below if you want to check out more content after the Flicks of the Week ends. But Texas Cotton, the trailer looks a lot like No Country for Old Men, like the cinematography, the lighting, the color palette, and it actually stars, the lead actor in it is George Hardy, who is most famous, or almost exclusively famous, for his role in Troll 2, which is famously one of the worst movies ever made. However, Texas Cotton is a serious Texas crime thriller. I like the movie. I'm not going to say any more than that. I'm going to save my commentary for the actual review next week. But stay tuned for more on that. But right now, go ahead and check out the trailer because it might be something you're surprisingly interested in. And then finally, we also got a trailer for Bird Box, which comes out on Netflix on December 21st. This looks like an incredible movie. I know a lot of you have already read the book because you've commented on it. It's supposed to be a great book, but Sandra Bullock stars in this. It is a somewhat post-apocalyptic story. Something has happened and people are dying, and a woman basically has to go on this journey with children completely blindfolded in order to survive. Looks stunning, looks really well done. Looks very similar to A Quiet Place in a lot of ways. Super excited to see this. You're going to be able to watch it at home on December 21st, directly on Netflix. So it's going to be, I think, one of the better Netflix originals that we get in a while. If you like this type of content, definitely click that subscribe button and be sure to click the little bell icon because I put new videos out every single week, multiple times a week, and if you subscribe, you will never run out of good movies to watch. But speaking of Netflix originals, we got the tiniest of tiny teasers for The Witcher, starring Henry Cavill, who plays Superman. We see him in the full Geralt gear, all the leather and the gray hair. I've got no really feelings towards him, positive or negative, but it's interesting that Superman is going to be in this Netflix original, and if you don't know what The Witcher is, I have played the video games. It is going to be Netflix's attempt at a Game of Thrones replacement, except The Witcher is going to have more supernatural elements, and I know you're saying, well, Darren, you know, Game of Thrones has dragons and stuff. Well, barely. Like they do now, but it took seasons of Game of Thrones to see anything, you know, remotely like a dragon. So The Witcher should be full of that type of stuff. There will be more coming out on this, but it's probably going to be about a year before we even get to see this thing. And then, in one more thing for channel news, some of you may have done the live watch with me last week where Derek Hagen from I Had a Bloody Good Time at House Harker watched it with me over a live stream. You could tune in, you could watch the movie on your TV, tune us in, listen to the commentary. Got a lot of positive feedback on that. Got some positive criticism, so we're going to make some changes and just try to improve that. But so many of you participated, we're going to be doing it again. I'm currently working on getting someone here to watch Mandy. That's going to be available for you to watch, or it currently is, but it should be even more accessible soon. So we'll either be watching that or something else very soon with a guest I've already had on the show that a lot of you really liked. So stay tuned for those Watch With Me live streams. There'll be more of those coming up in the future. All right, now for the good stuff, the stuff you probably are here for, the stuff you're probably tapping your foot waiting for, Amazon Prime and Netflix recommendations. On Amazon Prime, Dog Soldiers came out right in time for Halloween last week. It was too late for me to recommend, but this is a really cool werewolf movie. It is about some actual soldiers in a cabin out in the woods. There's werewolves, it's bloody, their werewolves are crazy looking. It's fairly low budget, so don't expect super great looking werewolves, but they do look pretty good, and it's an intense movie. I really like this one. This is a horde of things trying to get into the house movie. A lot of blood, machine guns, werewolves. If any of that tickles your fancy, you need to watch Dog Soldiers this week. It's definitely a primo pick, but magically an even better pick on Amazon Prime right now is You Were Never Really Here, starring Joaquin Phoenix. Now, this, to me, is one of his best roles. It's up there. It's a very quiet role. He plays a guy I wouldn't say a hitman, but he goes and recovers girls from sex trafficking rings, or kids rather, from sex trafficking rings. And he is a brutal son of a bitch in this movie, but it is beautifully shot for a movie about such a grim subject matter. It handles it very well, but it's also a beautiful art film at times. Johnny Greenwood did some of the music. I really, really like this movie. Do not expect a lot of dialogue. It's a fairly simple story, but man, it is intense, and it's one of the best movies I've seen so far this year. I think it came out in the late 2017, but it really wasn't available till this year. But counting it as a 2018 movie, it's one of my top 10 for sure. Outlaw King comes out on November 9th. It comes out at the end of the week. On Friday, I'll be doing a full review, but this one stars Chris Pine. Supposedly, he's full frontal naked in this one, if any of that appeals to any of you ladies, but it's also supposed to be brutally violent, Braveheart stuff. It takes place in medieval Scotland. It's directed by the same director who did Hell or High Water, which I loved. It's from like 2 years ago. If you've not seen that, I can't recommend it enough. That'd be another great one to watch. If you can find it anywhere, it's not, you'd have to rent it, but it's similar to Texas Cotton, which I'm going to be talking about more next week. But Outlaw King, to get back to Netflix, looks like a great, great Netflix original. Definitely looks like something that could have come out in theaters. There's going to be battles. It's a good way to tide yourself over to Game of Thrones, I think. Again, I have not seen it yet, but I will be seeing it. I'll be giving you my thoughts here at the end of the week. But that is it for the Flicks of the Week this week. The only reason I'm skimping on Netflix is because just last week, I told you everything that was getting dropped in November, or at least all the best stuff. I didn't want to repeat myself too much. There's a link to that video in the description below. But if you like, not necessarily this format, I'm feeling out like what order I'm going to put stuff in, but I want to bring you more information. So I want to give you the movie recommendations, but I want to give you details on the new trailers that are getting dropped, any kind of movie news. I'll give you my quick thoughts on that, but I want to make this a little bit more robust show. So stick with me. I'm going to work out some kinks on this, but I appreciate you watching. I'm going to keep making the Flicks of the Week as long as you keep watching them. But thanks for checking out this new episode, and you will see me on the next one.